Hi, Monica Malpass here at the New York Stock Exchange for FinTech TV and New to the Street, and we are delighted to welcome PetVivo CEO John Lai back with us again. Great to see you.
Great seeing you, Monica.
These are exciting times with your company. I know you've got so much going on, so we're going to catch up our viewers. They obviously are a biomedical device company for companion animals, but you've got a few new items, including that you've been onboarding some clinics. Tell us about that.
Sure. So a couple months ago, we announced a partnership with Veterinary Growth Partners, and last week was our first CE, or continuing education credit course, with a group of clinics. It's just a long process of bringing these clinics on board, educating them on our Spryng with OsteoCushion technology and precise PRP, how those two products are quite different than what's out there in the marketplace, and how they can use it in their clinic to provide their patients better health care, as well as a good onboarding profit center for the clinics.
And the reason that's important, a number of angles on that, is because a lot of times Spryng is considered like the last stop or the last chance after they've tried everything else. And you'd like to educate providers to know that they can do it sooner and perhaps elongate the amount of time before a surgery is needed, or even prevent surgery.
Yes. So Spryng with OsteoCushion, it's quite innovative in the sense that it's addressing the root cause of the problem when you have osteoarthritis or joint lameness. So when the particles get injected, it actually migrates to the outer synovium and corrects defects within the synovium. So you get proper fluid and joint function over time. So it lasts at least a year. And a lot of vets are not used to having a product last that long.
Okay.
Because like other products would require 3-4 injections a year. Ours is 1 injection a year. So just like human doctors in general, they've learned in med school and they've been practicing for 20 years, so all of a sudden you tell them something different.
Sure.
They go through their ordinary course of routine of products to use, and then when nothing else works, they tend to try Spryng as a last resort. And then when they get results, automatically in their mind they're thinking, this is my Hail Mary product to help the dog extend its life or the cat.
But you want them to use it not as a Hail Mary product only, but as an interim or maybe the first product.
Yes, and that's where it takes time to educate. And, it helped Dr. Tammy Grubb, who is a professor at Washington State University, did a peer review article talking about Spryng should be looked at as a first use product because it doesn't have the ordinary side effects of pharmaceuticals or biologic. And then after she wrote the article, she became president of the International Academy of Pain Management, of Veterinary Pain Management, which is a very prestigious organization for canine pain management. So that gave us a nice little write-up, a nice little push, and then the results out in the real world, we've injected over 12,000 animals.
Wow.
And these animals have really benefited from the Spryng injection, and then they're also starting to benefit from the precise PRP, which is our second product.
And for those who are uninitiated, let's back it up and walk them through a little bit more of the specifics. So cartilage historically has not been able to be created or generated until your product is able to stimulate growth. Which is a wonderful thing. So tell me more about how you went from the beginnings and the animals you tested on. I know you had rabbits on treadmills at one point and you tested in sheep. Tell me more.
Okay, so the product was initially designed at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. We were granted about $8 million from the Department of Defense and NIH. And initially it was developed in the area of regenerative medicine or drug delivery.
Okay.
And over time, we started to realize that if we injected these particles into a joint, it would fulfill the areas of defect. So, our product is what is classified as a human medical device.
Okay.
Through the trials. So we don't say it regenerates because Spryng, we don't believe itself does that.
Okay.
It just fills in the area. But what we have going on with the University of Connecticut through their spin-off technology, Piezo, they developed a nanofiber, and we have our Spryng particles. And when we embed the two, we're finding out that once it's injected in the rabbits and sheep and so on, they were able to regenerate cartilage when they created electrical field using ultrasound. So that's an ongoing study. We're very optimistic and excited about the results we're seeing. And if everything goes right, we should be completed with the study within 9 months. And then we would probably say we're going to start the studies, file with the FDA that we want to go into humans. And
Incredible.
we feel that could be quite disruptive for the human market if it does the same thing it's doing in the animal market, which we believe it would.
Right. Yeah. So let's go into what the possibilities are, because that is so exciting. What you're doing already is incredible and groundbreaking, but let's take it one step further. If human beings obviously over time wear out joints, or if they're athletes, sooner rather than later, sadly. But anyway, so it could be knees, hips, shoulders, all kinds of body parts.
Yeah, eventually, rupture discs.
Right.
Yeah, because that's a different application we would have to file for, because each of the joint injections addressing a different need requires further work with the FDA.
Sure.
But once you establish safety in hips and knees, doctors are open to do whatever they want. It's called off-label use.
Okay.
So it's up to the individual practitioner and their patient to determine that. So if you look at the market for joint replacements, it's about $33 billion a year.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And that's 80%.
Yeah, you get
of
a high
older people.
Yeah,
Right.
if you hit a certain age, you're probably going to have some form of osteoarthritis.
Okay.
And
My goodness.
Yeah, it's quite large. And if you look at lameness, osteoarthritis, and joint replacement combined, it's probably about $110 billion a year.
And that's because, as I understand, your explanation was $50,000 for the surgery, $20,000 for the rehab. That's a lot of money. Insurance companies are going to love your product.
Yeah, but also there's a certain level of population that just can't get the surgery because they're either too old to rehab, or they're overweight and have other health conditions,
Right.
comorbidities that may prevent them from surgery. So this is truly an option that they can go to that's minimally invasive. It's because it's a single injection into the joint, and we could provide a high quality of life, for the next year, 2 years, or 3 years, because you can keep injecting with no systemic damage. So if you're using cortisone or stuff like that, each injection efficacy goes down, and it has a tendency that could soften the tissue, actually weaken the tissue.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yours has none of the
None
negatives.
of those negative side
thankfully.
effects, because it's a mechanical function.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And so in a perfect world, all things being equal, you could possibly be doing some human applications sooner rather than later.
Yeah. If we declared it's a compassionate use item, it can certainly speed up the process, which I think there's a chance of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then within 3 or 4 years, it could be widely available.
Sooner than that, if it all falls under the FDA compassionate use.
Okay.
So I'm going 3 years on the basis
Just to be
of
safe.
the regular. Yeah.
Okay. What I know currently, when you've been working with sheep, what are some of the results that you're seeing?
Well, we're not supposed to get access to the results because it's being done independently through them. But they're telling us it's, they can use general terms like it's going extremely well and stuff like that,
Okay.
And it is,
Wonderful.
from what we're seeing. Our scientists talk to them. I don't get to talk to scientists.
I understand. So walk me through how you got to this firm and what is exciting for you about it.
So their law firm reached out to me and said, we finished a human study, a 145 patient study, and we got really good results, and we like to talk to you about coming in and helping commercialize, because it was run by scientists.
Sure, and they're good at the science and the lab work, and not so
And
good
they
at
don't know.
marketization.
The thing is, they think they know everything.
They're amazing at what they do.
I know.
I
They
take
are.
nothing
They
away
are.
from them.
I don't either, but I joke around with scientists all the time. And
Commercializing is a whole other animal. Yes.
So they wanted to go into the human market, and the human trials was using the Spryng particles as a dermal filler.
Okay.
So their study went head-to-head with Restylane, and Restylane's probably a $1.8 billion a year market in the United States, growing at 5%. And we had really good comparable results with the dermatologists and then the patients that got the injection. They liked our product better from the standpoint as it felt more natural.
Okay.
And it lasted longer. And so So the scientist says, let's go after this market. And I said, well, you know, you do have Allergan and AbbVie, all these major
A lot of
players.
competitors, yes, of
spend
course.
$200-300 million a year on advertising just to keep their market. I said, you know, it's really tough for a new company to come in with a single product to try to attack that. I said, I may need $300 million in 5 years just to get the first doctor to use it. So let's go another path. So
Okay.
finally they agreed.
Well, you were honest. I
Yeah.
think that's admirable.
Oh,
right?
yeah, of course. I say it like it is.
Yep.
You know, when I don't think there's a market, I tell them there is a market, but it's too tough and expensive to get in. So we went into the animal market because the human studies established that we were a human medical device. So when you go over to the veterinary side of the FDA, they accept that designation. You don't have to do any studies to start selling.
Oh, great.
But the problem is you go to the vets and they go, well, where's your data that it shows it works in dogs and cats and horses? So we had to spend time building
Gathering
that up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does that require multiple? I mean, it sounds like you've tested on many kinds of animals over 3 or 4 years, or more than that.
No, it's specific studies on specific joints within the dogs or the cats or horses.
Yes.
And you know, it's an ongoing process. It's
Okay.
not, but the good thing is it's not for the FDA. So you can do a 10-horse study or a 20-horse study, 20-dog study,
Okay.
you know, and be able to establish efficacy. And it's all about showing the data, getting it peer reviewed and published. So we got 2 studies that it's in peer review, and we expect it to go through the peer review and get publishing here in the next few months.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So we're excited about those. The initial findings were good. We showed that improvement, and the numbers of improvement was quite good.
How exciting.
Yeah.
So what are some sort of points, milestones that possible investors could be looking out for if they have an interest in being part of your company?
Sure. We're very good about filing our 8Ks, and our deck is on our website. But also, we'll make announcements because we feel we're in a phase where there's a lot of exciting development. You know, we have our B2C AI launch where the pet owner can put their phone towards the dog and create an advocate, and it'll tell you your dog's 5 pounds overweight, you need to increase exercise, and you need to change your food to suit the type of dog you have. But that also leads to our B2B application, which the vet can invite the pet owner saying, your dog is due for a vaccine. I'm going to give you a discount if you come in, so you're able to onboard. But our software also allows you to onboard and get all the information relevant to that dog and reduce your time of gathering the information by at least 80%. And then also, because you have the ability to customer acquisition in your neighborhood, you're able to see all the dogs that need certain things within a 5-mile radius and send them special invites to accept and save discounts. So your acquisition cost goes way down. So it's a win-win for everybody because the vet saves so much time on onboarding and searching for the data because it gathers it for them. And then once they do the diagnosis goes to the pet owner, but in a way that they can understand and comprehend. And the app also tells them how they can participate in the treatment of their dog, of whatever condition, because they'll give them suggestions and options to do that they can do at home.
Okay, so it's in layman's language, which is easy for a pet owner who hasn't been to veterinary school, but it also is good for veterinarians. So it's a win-win for both sides.
That's because the goal is to provide better healthcare and lower healthcare costs. So all of our products are kind of geared that way. You know, with Spryng bringing down the costs of hip replacements, knee replacements within dogs, and then hopefully eventually people.
Yes, and you said you've already launched the AI component, part of it.
Yeah, the B2C is in beta, and people can load up the system. So we're limiting to 200 people a day that can come on.
Okay.
So people that are signing up are exceeding that quite large, you know, that want to try the app, and we're getting great reviews within the app. Hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we'll launch our B2B and bring it to some of our vet clinics. So you can see when we are onboarding some of these vet clinics, what this could mean for them in terms of major cost savings, because the reason of Veterinary Growth Partners is a membership of vet clinics to share information on how they can improve their performance, how
Right.
to provide better health care. So this definitely fits into that platform that they're
Okay.
trying to do. So we're anxious to show it to all of our vet clinics.
Right. And I'm sure, obviously, over time it's extremely cost effective because they're not wasting 4 or
Yeah.
5 times the amount of time per animal.
Oh yeah, we feel the customer acquisition cost itself is going to be 90% savings, and the onboarding, we're going to save the vet about 80% of their time just trying to gather information, because our app goes on to their system, and whatever system they're using, we're able to pull the data.
I
They
see.
don't have to
Do it
manually enter the
themselves.
data. Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
goodness, that's monumental.
I know.
My goodness.
It's crazy of all the things we're doing, and it's going to provide much better health care for animals, and then hopefully eventually to humans.
Humans as
Yeah.
well. Wonderful. So 2 years out, 5 years out, what are you envisioning?
Well, I'm envisioning that I don't have to run all this and have multiple people running each one of the units, because it's overwhelming.
Yes, it's growing that quickly.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful problem to have,
Yeah.
right? My goodness. Well, John Lai, thank you so much with PetVivo Holdings. We are delighted to have you here and wish you continued
Thanks
success.
for having me, Monica.
Thank you, and thank you for watching.